Yeah, yeah. So, good evening, speakers and everyone joining us today. It's a genuine privilege and honor to welcome you all to the Bayer ISAT meeting. Today, we are conducting this meeting on the role of aflibercept. And our first topic is aflibercept treat and extend, long-lasting benefit and reduced treatment frequency in AMD. And the speaker is Dr. Prashant Saikia, sir. Sir, a senior ear surgeon and HOD of the Retina Department of Chandrababu Eye Hospital, Jorhat, Assam. And today our second topic is evaluating anti-VEGF drugs, molecular characteristics, and their impact on the treatment success. And the speaker is Dr. Arnab Das sir. Sir is a senior ear surgeon from Disha Eye Hospital. So now I'm requesting Dr. Prashant sir to start your session, and the session is handed over to sir. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to you please switch on your video, sir, if possible. Prashant Saikia, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, sir, this meeting is recorded by our company, so possible please start open your video, sir.
My video.
Yeah, your video, sir.
My face. Okay.
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Should I start?
Yes, sir. You can start. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. Today I'm going to speak aflibercept treat and extend long-standing benefits and reduced treatment frequency in neovascular AMD. So current unmet need in the treatment of neovascular AMD patients. The need for reduced treatment burden with current anti-VEGF agents for patients is increasing. 72% of respondents to the 2022 EURETINA Clinical Trends Survey agreed that the quantity of injections in the largest unmet need with current anti-VEGF treatment. So concerns regarding unmet need of anti-VEGF treatment have increased overall, but extended duration of action and the treatment burden remain the main issue. Variation in VEGF suppression time between patients indicates a need for treatment individualization. Here you can see that it's a VEGF-A suppression in the aqueous humor with aflibercept in patients with neovascular AMD. There are 27 patients here. All patients are having different values. Like patient number 27, you can see the definite VEGF suppression, and that definite VEGF suppressions are different in all patients. And again, you can see the uncertain in the suppression, that light blue fading bars. You can see a variation of different patients. So mean duration of VEGF-A suppression by aflibercept is 21 days with 18 days standard deviation. The duration of VEGF-A suppression with aflibercept varies up to 16 weeks in patients with neovascular AMD. So implementing a treat and extend regimen in clinical practice. In the aflibercept treatment, a treat and extend protocol, the treatment is initiated with one injection per month for 3 consecutive doses. The treatment interval is then extended to 2 months. The patients received an injection at every visit with no monitoring between visits, and the time between treatments is gradually extended until fluid recurs or visual acuity declines in order to determine the maximum treatment interval with disease stability. Treat more frequently if visual acuity and or anatomic status deteriorates. So treat until stable, extend intervals, extend until fluid recurs or visual acuity declines, decrease interval to previous stable interval, maintain the patient at this interval will minimize treatment burden and fluid fluctuations. Durability of current anti-VEGFs. Ranibizumab treat and extend requires a high burden of treatment to maintain vision gain through year 2. Here are a lot of so many studies have been shown. Here, mean change in visual acuity is blue bar, and that this one is your number of injections. More than or equal to 12-week treatment interval percent is 37 here, 43, 17, 15, and 29.6 as well, with high number of injections. Here, 18.6, 17.6, likewise. In Hawking area, only 39 to 45% of patients were maintained on week 12 dosing with brolucizumab 6 mg by week 96. Despite the relative high molecular concentration of brolucizumab, its relatively small molecular weight means that it has a shorter intraocular half-life and thus clears from the eye quickly. As such, only 39 to 45% of patients could be maintained on 12-week dosing by week 96 in Hawking area. When administered at matched 8-week treatment intervals, faricimab 6 mg may increase treatment burden compared with aflibercept 2 mg. In up to 25.8% of patients receiving faricimab 6 mg could not be extended beyond week 8 at year 2. Patients received faricimab 6 mg 8 weekly are likely to have an increased injection burden versus those receiving aflibercept 2 mg 8-week fixed dosing. European Medicine Agency faricimab European Public Assessment Report says the faricimab 8-week treatment schedule does not reduce the treatment burden compared to the treatment with aflibercept, but rather require one additional exposure to the initial steady-state exposure. It is 4 injections for aflibercept compared to 3 injections in 4 injections in faricimab compared to 3 injections in aflibercept. ALTER was designed to assess the efficacy of 2 different aflibercept treat and extend regimen in neovascular. In this study, there is a compulsory injection on week 0, 4, 8, and 16 to all the enrolled subjects. And at 16-week injection, the patients are randomized into 2 groups. One group having 2-week extension interval, and the other week 4-week extension. And there is 52 weeks is the primary endpoint, and 96 week is the end of treatment. And in this 2 time point, mandatory visit for evaluation. So in ALTER, there is a treat and extend adjustment criteria are like this. When there is extended the weeks, the criteria are if there is no fluid present, then you can extend, and no loss of more than or equal to ETDRS 5 ETDRS letters, no increase in CRT of more than or equal to 100 micron, no new neovascularization, no new macular hemorrhage. And the interval was maintained without increasing or decreasing if there is a residual but decreased fluid, and no loss of more than or equal to 5 ETDRS letters, no increase in CRT of more than or equal to 100 micron, no new neovascularization, no new macular hemorrhage. And the weeks are shortened if the criteria are new fluid present, or persistent, unchanged, or increased fluid, or any of the following: loss of more than or equal to 5 ETDRS letters, increase in CRT of more than or equal to 100 microns, new neovascularization, new macular hemorrhage. So ALTER included an option for patients to be maintained on their current injection interval in the presence of residual but decreased fluid. Data from pivotal RCTs support the efficacy and durability of aflibercept 2 mg in patients with neovascular AMD. The ALTER it's a multi-center randomized open-label phase 4 study in treatment-naive patients with neovascular AMD. You can see if in the both arms, 2 weeks extension, treat and extend, or 4 weeks treat and extend arm, both in the arms, the ETDRS later gain was more or less equal. Here plus 7.6 liters, here plus 6.1 liters, and in the number of injections are same. And the proportion of patient at 16-week interval at the final visit, that is week 96, you can see that 41.5% patients. And in the other group, that is 4-week treat and extend group, is 46.3%. This slide shows that even if you increase the weeks, the results are almost similar to 2 weeks in comparison to 4 weeks. So that means you can extend your injection at weeks in 4 weeks interval also with similar result of 2 weeks extension results. So by week 96, 56.9% to 60.2% of patients were maintained at injection intervals of 12 weeks and beyond. In ALTER, up to 96.2% of patients extended to week 16 maintained this interval to week 96 with aflibercept. Again, in this study, vision gain achieved in year 1 were maintained to week 96 with fewer than 4 injections in year 2 in both treatment groups. Can aflibercept 2 mg achieve RCT-like outcomes in clinical practice? Yes, RCT-like outcomes can be achieved in the clinic with aflibercept treat and extend with a predefined exit strategy. You can see this Zaki et al. Study. The mean injection is 8.1 in the first year with BCVA letters, ETDRS letters gain is 11.8, and in the second year, the mean injection 5.5, and third year mean injection 4.5, and the fourth year the 5 mean injections with gain of ETDRS letters. In a study by Muruko et al., vision improved from baseline to 2 years with aflibercept treat and extend, with up to 61% of patients achieving dosing interval of 3 months. In this study, Taipel et al., up to 6.7% of patients treated with a rapid extension protocol achieved dosing interval of 3 months after 2 years of proactive treat and extend with aflibercept. Another study, up to 75.3% of eyes achieved dosing intervals of 3 months after 3 years of proactive treat and extend with aflibercept. So 2-year real-world results for aflibercept using the treat and extend regimen in neovascular axillary macular degeneration and polypoid vasculopathy. A total of 43 patients were enrolled in this study, 24 of whom were diagnosed with neovascular AMD and 19 PCV. The BCVA logMAR was improved from 0.75 with a standard deviation of 0.42 to 0.6 standard deviation of 0.41 at 3 months after treatment interval in initiation, and further improved to 0.66 with standard deviation 0.46 at 24 months. The number of injections within the 2-year treatment course was 10.95, standard deviation 3.65. At month 24, the treat and extend regimen, the treatment interval was extended to more than or equal to 16 weeks in 60.5% of all cases to 78.9% of the PCV cases. So real-world evidence supports the long-term effectiveness and durability of aflibercept 2 mg with a proactive treat and extend regimen. The wealth of real-world evidence indicates that a proactive treat and extend regimen with aflibercept 2 mg can provide RCT-like outcomes in routine clinical practice in patients with neovascular need. So aflibercept 2 mg has set a high bar for patients' outcomes in clinical trials with a proven efficacy in the clinic. Of all variable anti-VEGF agents, aflibercept binds the most diverse range of VEGF receptor 1 ligands, the key driver of retinal diseases. As supported by a wealth of data, aflibercept 2 mg has been shown to deliver improved long-term outcomes with regular proactive treatment. Aflibercept treat and extend offers the flexibility to achieve and maintain vision gain with intervals of week 4 to week 16, while tolerating some residual fluid and reducing treatment time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable and insightful presentation. It's really helpful for your audience.
Yeah.
So now forum open for the audience. If there
Thank you.
any question from the audience side, please you can ask to the sir, or you can also post in the chat box. And also, our Arnab sir is present, sir. If any point you want to add, or sorry, any value addition from your side, so also
It was a wonderful presentation by Dr. Prashant Ushaika. And so it was more thank you for coming in and honoring this platform. We are glad to have you here. And importantly, I'm seeing you face to face after a long time. It's our pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure, yeah.
And a lucid talk, and you quite rightly highlighted the utility of aflibercept in allowing us to extend treatment intervals, and the Altair and the Aries. Actually, Aries came first, and then the Altair. I mean, they were the first trials which showed us about the concept of treat and extend. The treat and extend concept came in through these pivotal trials. These are trials that have really changed the way we see our patients and treat our patients. When you are doing a treat and extend, do you increase the intervals by 2 weekly or 4 weekly?
Actually, I increase 2 weeks. It's my favorite. But sometimes I don't stick to 2 weeks always. If I see that after some time, 2-week interval, if there is no fluid collection, then I extend to 4 weeks again. And that way I observe the patient.
Correct. I mean, Altair so nicely showed us that 3 things, which is extend, maintain, and shorten. So that's what we use in our practice as well. And it also did show us that whether you extend it 2 weekly or you straight away go for a 4 weekly extension, the outcomes are the same. So, I mean, although we more often than not are apprehensive about going for a 4 weekly extension,
yes, that is true.
Yeah, but actually it can be done, because at least this gold standard study did show us this. But that apprehension remains, and more often than not, I'm sure most practitioners would actually go for 2 weekly extensions
2 weeks,
until the patient insists for a greater gap. Then we allow a 4 weekly extension. So I mean, these are wonderful points which you brought out, Dr. Saikia. As I said, it was a pleasure listening to you. And there were lessons I'm sure that all of us who are here listening to your talk would have picked up. So that's it. Again, I'm quite sure. I mean, aflibercept is although we have choices like Baluzumab as well as Vabysmo now. I mean, I'm sure that many patients would still be put onto treatment under aflibercept because it's quite a safe as well as an efficacious drug. When you use it as a percentage, you use it more often. I mean, just a blanket statement. I mean, more often than Vabysmo, or you use it less often than Vabysmo?
And actually, we use aflibercept more
Yeah, but as a
frequently.
percentage, I mean, uh, amongst the newer drugs, how would you
And the
place? I mean,
newer
which
that
tops the
no,
list?
that the faricimab is not available in my part. I have no experience with faricimab. It's not available.
Uh, I couldn't hear you, Dr. Saiki.
Faricimab is
Last part.
not available in my place.
Oh, acha. Oh, it's not available. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. So by default, anyway, aflibercept is winning. But I mean, I use faricimab in good numbers, but I somehow find the results with aflibercept more predictable than faricimab.
Okay, that is good
Yeah,
information. Yeah.
हाँ, yeah. I mean, if you want, if a person says कि डॉक्टर साहब 3 बार दोगे उसके बाद ठीक हो जाएगा ना, बेहतर तो होगा ना, पानी सूख जाएगा ना, and if you want a trust kind of a drug which does not betray you, I mean, then I think aflibercept would be the drug of choice.
I
Okay,
think
thank you.
patient, yeah, I think patient
Yeah, sure.
also because more familiar with aflibercept, they know that there is a drug called aflibercept works very nicely, so they don't want to switch to some other medicines. Maybe it is newer.
Yeah. Although aflibercept classically doesn't fall in the newer anti-VEGF category, but I still like keeping it in the newer anti-VEGF
Yes.
category.
Yeah.
Uh, and especially with the aflibercept 8 milligram coming in, I'm
Yeah,
sure
that
like
is.
it would be a game changer, and we are looking forward to that. So Abhishek, should we go on to my speech?
Yeah. Yes.
My talk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can now
Uh,
hand over the session to you. That's
Thank you, Abhishek. Yeah.
thanks.
So yeah. Once again, for those of you who've joined in late, good evening. Slide getting visible now?
Yes, sir. It is visible,
Abhishek?
but yeah, it is visible, but you have to do in presentation mode. Yeah.
Now it is full screen?
Now,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
it is full.
Yeah, the slides are moving as well. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just a second.
Everything is fine, sir.
Okay. So this is what I would be talking on. Evaluating anti-VEGF drugs, molecular characteristics, and their treatment impact on treatment success. So anti-VEGF can be divided into conventional ranibizumab and bevacizumab, and newer aflibercept, bevacizumab, and faricimab. Some would say aflibercept is somewhere in between conventional and newer, but I like keeping aflibercept in the newer as I was just mentioning. Now, several molecular factors determine how a drug interacts with the body, be it the binding affinity, the elimination half-life, the potency, clinical targets, molar dose. Thus, these are also the 5 pharmacological strategies to try and achieve greater biological activity and extend disease remission by increasing the binding affinity, increasing the potency, increasing the half-life, having more pathways and clinical targets covered, and increasing molar dose. Now, talking of attempts to improve binding affinity, the dissociation constant is a measure of the affinity between two molecules, a ligand and a receptor, and tells us how difficult or easy it is to separate them. And since it is inversely related to the binding affinity, lower the Kd value, tighter is the binding. So as you can see in this table here, that aflibercept scores well here, and VEGF binding affinity um, uh, is 100 times more than that of ranibizumab and much higher than other anti-VEGFs as well. The binding affinity determines how strongly a drug interacts with its targets, as I mentioned. And aflibercept was found to have statistically higher VEGF binding affinity than borozumab and ranibizumab in a head-to-head study, again, as I mentioned in the previous study. a higher binding affinity can potentially lower the minimal efficacious concentration required to block a given factor. Talking of attempts to improve potency, IC50 value is the half maximal inhibitory concentration is correlated with drug potency. It is a measure of the concentration of drug required to inhibit a particular biological or biochemical process by 50%. Lower the value, more potent the drug. Aflibercept is significantly more potent than golimumab and ranibizumab in vitro, as you can see. Uh, Attempts to increase the half-life. Half-life is largely a function of the drug size, and half-life changes the slope of the curve. Graph shows that a greater half-life allows a longer duration of biological activity in the vitreous of the eye. Thus, increasing half-life results in increased intervals between necessary treatments, decreasing the treatment burden with any given agent. One can note that golimumab, being a smaller molecule, loses out on half-life vis-a-vis larger molecules like aflibercept, though golimumab attempts to compensate this by a very high molar dose. Talking of having more pathways and clinical targets covered. So what is clinical target? The binding target determines downstream effects of a drug on disease pathology. Depending on what they block, we know there are single target drugs like bevacizumab, ranibizumab, and palbociclib, which all target VEGF-A. Dual target drugs, faricimab is an example of that. It binds to both VEGF-A as well as angiopoietin 2. And we have multi-target drug like an aflibercept, which blocks VEGF-A, placental growth factor, VEGF-B, and galectin-1. The VEGF signaling pathway is the master regulator of pathological angiogenesis. For recollection, VEGF-A acts mainly through VEGF receptor 2, but also through VEGF receptor 1, whereas VEGF-B and placental growth factor acts through VEGF receptor 1 only. Angiogenic factors play a critical role in the development of edema, retinal vascular permeability, inflammation, and neovascularization and vessel stabilization. Activation of VEGF receptor 1 and VEGF receptor 2 by VEGF and placental growth factor promotes angiogenesis and neovascularization, as mentioned. As mentioned, aflibercept targets VEGF, the master regulator of the disease pathology, and additionally targets the key ligand, placental growth factor, as well. The Fc portion of IgG, which is there in aflibercept, extends the half-life of aflibercept. Placental growth factor A and placental growth factor, VEGF A and placental growth factor are upregulated in exudative retinal diseases such as diabetic retinopathy, DME, and neovascular AMD. In patients with DME, VEGF levels are up by around 61 times, and placental growth factor levels are up by 19 times. Why placental growth factor is an important target molecule? Although other anti-VEGFs block VEGF molecules from activating VEGF receptors, presence of elevated placental growth factor can also activate VEGF receptor. Could targeting additional pathways beyond the VEGF receptor pathway further improve efficacy outcomes? Aflibercept inhibits multiple targets as mentioned. In previous trials, platelet-derived growth factor receptor inhibitors have demonstrated no additional functional benefit vis-a-vis anti-VEGFs alone. And what about inhibition of angiopoietin 2, the talk of the town, with now faricimab in the armamentarium of options that we have to treat the diseases? Now, it's important to remember that levels and ratios of angiopoietin 1, angiopoietin 2, and VEGF-A are important determinants of vascular stability. With angiopoietin 1, it activates the Tie2 receptors, which is maintained at high levels in healthy states. And this angiopoietin 1 to Tie2 binding promotes endothelial survival and stability of cell junctions, thus stabilizing vasculature. whereas angiopoietin 2 inhibits type 2 activation by competing with angiopoietin 1 and it's expressed at lower levels than angiopoietin 1 in healthy tissues. And we know that VEGF-A binds to VEGF receptor 2. Faricimab is a bispecific monoclonal antibody that directly binds and neutralizes both VEGF-A and angiopoietin 2, effectively blocking their signaling pathway. Whereas aflibercept is a recombinant fusion protein, a decoy receptor that binds VEGF-A, VEGF-B, and placental growth factor with greater affinity than body's native receptors. Aflibercept is a decoy receptor that simply traps the signaling molecules, which mistakenly bind with aflibercept instead of original receptors without initiating a cellular response, therefore reducing activity. Is the angiopoietin 2 type 2 pathway always a relevant target for treatment of exudative retinal disease? That's a big question. In high VEGF states, angiopoietin 2's antagonistic activity may promote destabilization of blood vessels. However, in low VEGF states induced by anti-VEGF treatment, angiopoietin 2 may have a limited relevance. In faricimab phase 2 trial Avenue, ranibizumab and faricimab achieved similar levels of plasma angiopoietin 2 inhibition after one injection. Data suggests that anti-VEGF monotherapy neutralized angiopoietin 2 to levels comparable to that of directly targeting angiopoietin 2, supporting the belief that biological activity of angiopoietin 2 is downregulated by decreasing VEGF-A levels. This animal study evaluating the efficacy of anti-VEGF agents ranibizumab and golimumab in human VEGF 165 induced rabbit retinal vascular hypermobility model found that human VEGF was completely suppressed in rabbit vitreous after anti-VEGF treatment for 28 days, and angiopoietin 2 protein in vitreous and mRNA for the Ang2 gene in the retinal tissue were similarly suppressed, although the anti-VEGF agents do not directly bind to angiopoietin 2. And aflibercept demonstrated the greatest inhibitory effect in angiopoietin 2 levels in vitreous, which correlated with strong level suppression of intraocular human VEGF levels. The results of this study support the hypothesis that angiopoietin 2 may be expressed secondary to primary insults to retinal vasculature by VEGF. Bayer and Regeneron have investigated angiopoietin 2 pathway in combination with aflibercept in the Ruby and Onyx study. Data from separate studies suggest that nesvizumab is a more potent inhibitor of angiopoietin 2 than faricimab. In the Ruby and Onyx targeting both angiopoietin 2 and VEGF receptor pathways did not provide additional improvements in vision, as you can see. No additional clinical benefits noted with the potent angiopoietin 2 inhibition in combination with aflibercept is what Ruby and Onyx studies, one for DME and another for NMD, concluded, and thus Ruby and for DME and Onyx trial for NMD program was discontinued primarily because combination therapy was non-inferior to aflibercept monotherapy for change in BCVA at week 12 and week 36 endpoints in both the trials. Unbalanced study designs favoring faricimab and the additional angiopoietin 2 targeting with faricimab did not confer any additional clinical benefit with aflibercept. It seems the activity of faricimab may be derived primarily from its ranibizumab arm. No proven clinical benefit with angiopoietin 2 inhibition. It could be that the higher molar dose of ranibizumab FAB arm is responsible for faricimab's treatment effect. Attempts to improve the molar dose. Molar dose is the amount of drug delivered at a single time and increasing it moves the curve up. That is, the biological activity increases and stays for a longer time. Note the shift to a more prolonged action with higher molar dose. Increasing molar dose has been a common strategy to increase biological activity since the results of the pivotal Harvard trial. The Harvard trial was used to evaluate the safety and efficacy of ranibizumab 0.5 versus 2 milligram. In the PRN arm of the study, the average interval between doses after loading phase of 3 monthly injections was longer in patients who received 2 milligram. Uh, as needed dosing with 2 milligram also showed significantly decrease in central foveal thickness as compared to 0.5. This suggests that administering a higher dose of intravitreal ranibizumab could result in longer biological activity of the agent. Similarly, increasing the dose of aflibercept to 8 milligram from 2 milligram, as seen by the two studies, Pulsar for NEMD and Photon for DME, allows extending dosing up to 16 weeks immediately after the initial 3 loading doses. In regards to vision gains, 8 milligram aflibercept, when given with an extended dosing interval of 12 to 16 weeks, was non-inferior to 2 milligram aflibercept given 8 weekly. Thus, increasing the dose of aflibercept per injection alone has the potential to reduce treatment burden without compromising vision. Aflibercept delivers comprehensive and highly durable uh, uh, effects targeting where it matters, as can be seen from some real world studies. RCT-like outcomes are possible with aflibercept in clinical practice, be it the Moorfields trial for NAMD, the Morimoto L trial for PCD, and again the Moorfield trials for DME. Uh, Aflibercept has become the benchmark for efficacy and safety with years of real-world patients. And to summarize, aflibercept targets where it matters: VEGF and placental growth factor, thereby inhibiting the downstream signaling via VEGF receptor 1 and 2, which is the master regulator of pathological angiogenesis. To date, both preclinical and clinical data suggest that there is no any additional benefit to targeting alternatives to VEGF receptor signaling pathways. Separate independent study suggests aflibercept has greater binding affinity to for VEGF-A, a greater potency and a longer half-life than other available anti-VEGF agents. These factors contribute to the stronger VEGF suppression seen with aflibercept. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. It's really helpful for your audience how you elaborately discuss about the all points about the ANGS2 and the benefit of suppression of anti-VEGF, so VEGF level. So thanks. So now the session is open for the question for the audience. If there are any question from the audience side, you can directly ask to our Arnav sir, or you can post on our chat box. And I also requesting Prashant sir, so throw some light on this point. So the session now over to audience and Prashant sir.
Yeah, Dr. Arnav has nicely explained everything, nothing to add or nothing to subtract. Arnav is very nicely explained everything. Yes, now aflibercept is quite established anti-VEGF agents because it has got sufficient uh, trials and it has been already established one. And we are happy to know that there is newer, higher strength aflibercept is there in the market. It's coming to India probably very soon. But economic constraint of the patient is one of the major factor maybe for this high strength aflibercept. So hope we'll have better future nearby. And the only concern that I have already highlighted in my presentation that the patient's visit and the number of injections that matters. So hopefully newer anti-VEGF agent will help in this context.
The 8 milligram would help us on that, I mean, to
Yeah,
get us
definitely.
greater extensions,
Yeah.
both in the loading phase as well as in the maintenance phase. In the loading phase, instead of a monthly or a 5-6 weekly interval, we probably would be able to give loading doses at 2 to 3 months interval. So the loading phase would be more stretched out with 8 milligram. And my assumption, and the studies also are showing that in the maintenance phase, be it the PRN maintenance or the Titan Extend maintenance with 8 milligram, you might even reach up to 6 months of interval. So 6 months of interval is wonderful. I mean, that means 2 injections a year. I mean, most patients would be
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
with
that
that.
is great. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward
Yes,
to that, and importantly, to Abhishek's comfort, the biosimilar of aflibercept is struggling a bit.
Yeah,
It's not so easy to copy a complex molecule like aflibercept. And
absolutely.
as I said, it's a fusion protein. It's a decoy receptor, so it's not an easy molecule to copy. The biosimilars will come someday, but for them to get established and to dethrone aflibercept, it will take a good amount of time. And by then, 8 milligram would be there, and again, they would need to chase the 8 milligram.
Yes, sure. Sir, already by Zydus launch biosimilar of Apliverse. So I'm saying the both, sir. So, do you have any experience of using Anida of what kind of efficacy or any point on you have no? Have you used, sir, Anida?
No,
I
no,
have
I
used
don't
because
have.
CGHS patients.
Okay,
I
okay, sir.
have used because some of the CGHS patients where I had written earlier
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have come back, have come to me
Good.
carrying Anira. I was
Yeah.
forced to use. I
No,
think I have given it in 4 or 5 patients thus far. They have not come for follow-up.
yeah.
My fingers are crossed. But there are IOI issues, as you know,
That's
with
why, sir.
Anira as of now. So as of now, I'm not prescribing Anira. It's only by default if somebody is bringing that. Of course, I will give.
I'm asking for that just for your experience, how our experience with the Anida. That's why, sir, I'm asking because obviously, sir,
Not yet,
they
Abhishek.
are
The patients have not come
yeah,
back. The patients have
because
not come back for follow-up.
they are already withdrawn their 4 batch because there is a issue with the
Hmm.
safety issue. From
Okay.
the
Okay.
VRSA committee, it is clearly shown the notice to the Zydus and they have withdrawn their 4 batch. And who have used for a bit little bit time for Anida, they are also saying that they are not happy with the efficacy when they are comparison with the INEA. So fully in future there are many company with come with obviously with the better efficacy, but still now they are not happy. They are not matching the efficacy with the INEA who use for a little bit better time.
Yeah.
So that
And as I
and
said, Abhishek,
yeah,
by the time those biosimilars come, which will be able to match
yes,
uh,
yes, I know,
aflibercept
sir.
2 milligrams efficacy, you will have an 8 milligram well established. They will
Yeah,
have
yeah.
another thing to chase. They will have
I
another
know,
thing to
sir. But
chase.
I know, sir. Few company are on the queue, and obviously they are launching the product of the Biocon. Obviously, that is we are hoping that will come with the not that kind of safety issue with the patients. Obviously, because ultimate patient will be the loser. They will lose their vision. We never want this kind of incident for our benefits, sir.
My
Yeah, it's a
my suggestion to
intraocular
you and
injection.
Bear,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
Please go.
yeah, my suggestion to you and Bear was that when you come with 8 milligram, please price it well, because
Yeah,
then that will be the idea which we'll
Yeah.
use mostly. Okay.
Yes,
And as sir was saying, like all our patients want greater intervals, and both when we start treating, that means the loading phase, as well as when we are trying to maintain what we have
yeah,
achieved. So please ensure that we are actually able to use 8 milligram aflibercept as a default. For that, you have to keep your pricing kind of competitive as well as interesting. And I'm
yes.
sure you'll have a patient support program there.
Yes, obviously we'll come with the patient support program. And one thing is obviously, sir, what you have already mentioned that the like compliance is a big issue because the patient don't want to take the injection in the every month. So that's why Apliver say we can extend up to 3 months because of 12-week study we have. We have also studied with the 16-week. But sir, just one thing I want to highlight. One good point of the many point is there, but one thing is that the Arnav sir he spent a good time with the patient for the counseling, but that's why the retention part of the sir, patient part is very high. So I hopefully, sir, the on one important part is the like what kind of patient adherence to the therapy. There is a main challenge for the anti-VEGF because patient don't want to take the every month. Hopefully, with the 8 mg, we will try to hit the point because the 2 injection is a in a year. It will be really helpful for the patient to the adhere with the therapy. So let's see. We are expecting the end of this year. We will going to launch that 8 mg. So thanks again. Thanks Prashant sir and Arnav sir for your valuable time, for your valuable presentation. It is really helpful for our audience. It will help their day-to-day practice to treat with the patients. Thank you, audience. Thank you all audience doctors for your valuable time. Thanks. So hopefully in future we'll again try to arrange this kind of meeting for the benefit of the
Mhm.
society and for the
sure.
benefit of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please arrange meeting with people from Northeast. I mean, it was so
yeah.
nice
That's
to
why.
have
So that's why you
Dr.
are
Prashant
trying
to
to
hear.
yeah. That's why you are trying to connect with the interstate meeting. we have a plan, this kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
So we
that
can,
would be
sir, we
nice.
can change the like
It's a nice
Dr.
effort from there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like Koshan sir already said that he did not experience with the fatty smell, but when doctor, obviously they are highlighting the point of the angst too. Like already Arnab sir discussed about the importance of the angst too. So there's kind of thing obviously helpful for the entire audience too. So thank you, sir. We will try to engage this kind of meeting, interstate meeting.
Sure,
Virtually, it will
sure,
helpful
sure,
to
sure.
connect the people. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks from
Okay.
the side also. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Have a good night.
Bye bye. Bye.
So I am
Okay,
now
good
requesting
night.
our technical